Hello crochet friends, are you ready for another crazy cool crochet project? In this one we are making the easy crochet poncho. It's lightweight with open sides. I am using these bold colors. However, this Baby Bee Sweet Delight comes in probably a couple dozen colors. So if you want something more subtle, you will be able to do that with the same yarn. So I am using Baby Bee Sweet Delight, as I said. This is Cobalt, Baby Teal, and Violet. We will also need a G hook, G as in George, and a yarn needle and scissors. Now this is a really easy but fun project. We will need two basic panels, a front and a back. We will seam at the shoulders and you'll be done. It's that fast and that easy. Now what's going to make this even more interesting, we are working the pattern horizontally, but we are wearing it vertically. So that will give you a little bit different look. And the reason for that is because it will make the color changes so much easier doing it this way. If we worked it with the color changes this way, we would have to be carrying the color up all the way through the panel. And that makes it a little more challenging for beginners. That way we only need to make the color change at the very edge and just a few times, and that's really easy. Okay, we're going to get started with a chain of 107 for a size small. And if you need a different size, I will leave that information in the description area below. You might have to open that up where it says show more, or it might have a little arrow, a little V next to the name Crazy Cool Crochet, or possibly next to the name of this project. It's all below the video. There's a lot more information in that space too, so don't forget to open it up. Now the yarn we are using is a number 3. Yes, you can substitute, and this will result in a lightweight poncho, so it's not heavy and it's not too dense. We are using a mesh stitch with a slightly more closed weave. I'm going to start with the chain. We'll need 107 for size small. Now I'm only going to make a swatch here. If you are making a different size, start with a chain and an odd number. Okay, now we are going to work only the foundation row in the back loops. And that's so that we don't need to put a border on at the end. So we're going to do single crochets in each chain, starting with the second chain from the hook. Do not count the chain on the hook. There's the first one, the little tiny one. So we are going to enter into the back loop. So turn this over a little bit. You can see those back loops. They look like little bumps. And I will be honest with you, this row, because we are entering in the back loop, will be the most difficult of the entire project. So once you get done with this, it's smooth sailing. Single crochet. There's that little bump. Go ahead to the end of your foundation chain. Okay, at the end of the row, if you started with a chain of 107, you will have 106 single crochets, 106. And we're going to chain 1 and turn, and we will enter a single crochet in each single crochet across for 106 again. We'll start in the very first space regular single crochet. So you're entering the hook in between each single crochet below, or under the 2-strand chain that formed at the top. It's the same thing. Now, if you need help with the beginning stitches, I'll leave a little white box right up there that will take you to the beginner tutorials. So single crochet all the way across. And don't forget that last one. There's the 2 strands. So enter right in there. And then chain 3. And turn. Now we're going to start the mesh stitches. So we're skipping that very first one, the first space, and we're going to slip stitch into the next space. Chain 2. Skip the next space, enter another slip stitch into the next space. And chain 2. Skip the next space, slip stitch into the next. It's that easy. So just keep going across, skip 1, slip stitch, chain 2, skip 1, slip stitch in the next one, chain 2. When you get to the end of your row, skip the next one. You'll have 2 spaces left, skip 1, slip stitch into that last space, chain 3, and turn. Now we're going to slip stitch into each opening. Starting with the first one, chain 2, slip stitch into that next opening, chain 2. So we're slip stitching under that 2 chain stitch. Chain 2, slip stitch, and keep going all the way across. When you get to the end of that row, do your slip stitch in that very last space. Chain 3 and turn. Now repeat that. So we will have a total of 4 of the mesh rows. At the end of that 4th row of the mesh stitches, or row 6 from the beginning, chain 1 and turn. Now we're going to do 2 rows of single crochet again. That's going to be the pattern. 2 rows of single crochet, 4 rows of mesh stitch, 2 single crochet, 4 mesh. And we will start the first single crochet in that slip stitch right at the very beginning there. Single crochet, then a single crochet into this open space, single crochet into that slip stitch, single crochet into the open space, and continue across the row just like that. And you will end up with your original count of 106. Your last stitch for that row will be a single crochet into that last space, chain 1, turn, and then enter a single crochet into each space, starting with the very first one. That will keep you on your count. At the end of that second row of single crochets, chain 3. Now we're going to start our mesh stitches again. Turn, skip that very first space, slip stitch into the next space, chain 2, skip a space, slip stitch into the next. So just repeat the pattern that we worked on here. So as we're working along, I want to remind you to watch the entire video, please. That is extremely helpful to my channel. If you would like to support my work, I would appreciate if you would watch the video for several minutes. And of course, it's helpful to you too. I oftentimes end up leaving tips and suggestions along the way that might come in handy at the beginning. Okay, now we are going to change color. So what we did here was 2 rows of the single crochet, 4 mesh, 2 single crochet, 4 mesh, 2 single, 4 mesh, and 2 single. So this is row 20 now. So this is a single crochet row, and we still got the last single crochet of that row. So we're going to start the last single crochet, but don't complete it. You've got 2 loops on the hook. Now we bring in the next color, which is going to be the blue. Now we complete that last single crochet with the blue, and now we do our chain 3. So before we turn, we can actually cut off the violet. Leave a chain, I'd say about 4 or 5 inches. A strand, I mean, not a chain. It's a strand. Now we're going to turn and continue the pattern. So remember to skip that first space, enter the slip stitch into the next space, chain 2, skip a space, slip stitch, and keep going. And it's that easy, changing colors. And again, if you would like to support the channel, leave me a thumbs up down below in that white space, or leave a comment. So let me know, is this the first time you're learning how to change color? Is this the first time you're using a mesh stitch? Is this your first poncho? Here is the completed panel. Remember, we need 2 of these. So what we did was, we started with the violet, or the purple. We did 20 rows. Then we did 24 rows in the blue, 54 rows in the baby teal, 24 rows again in the blue, but to end it, we did 18 rows in the violet. This is how that last strip ended, was with the 2 rows of single crochet to match the 2 rows that we started on the bottom here. And it happened that we ended with 18 rows rather than 20. If you absolutely have to have the rows matching, you can do 2 more rows of the single crochet, but then the stitches won't be matching anyway. In the end, after all is said and done, when we put the panels together, it will basically be unnoticeable. So now let's go ahead and put them together. Okay, now we need to situate the 2 panels. So as you recall, we worked it horizontally, but we're going to wear it vertically. Okay, so now put the panels this way. We want right sides inside. Right sides are touching each other. Okay, so there's the bottom panel. That's the right side is up. That's the back panel, I mean. And then this top panel, or the front, we're going to call it, both of them are the same, so it doesn't matter which is front and which is back. But we want right sides inside, wrong sides out. Okay, so the way we're going to figure this is, I don't know if you can see the little tail. Okay, I put the little yarn needle over there by the tail. That's the foundation chain. So that's the right side. So the right side is up. Now on the top panel, here's the tail for the foundation chain. So that's the right side. So right sides are touching. And now we're going to seam at the shoulders. So you can decide how wide you want the neck opening. And put yourself some little stitch markers. I usually just use little pieces of contrasting yarn. So decide where you want your neck opening and then seam the shoulders. And now we need to add stitch markers at the neckline. So determine the center of the panel and then mark where you want the neck opening. So I wanted 9 inches for my opening, and now we'll start seaming. Okay, now before we start the actual seaming, double check that you've got your panel situated correctly. So you've got the wrong sides facing out, the right sides are touching, and double check that you've got your purple rows or your purple panels matching up. So remember, one side had 20 rows and the other side had 18. So make sure that both panels are matching up. Okay, now in order to keep this nice and pretty and neat, I'm going to switch the yarn colors as I'm going across. So I'm going to start with the purple. Insert in both panels in the cornermost stitches. I like to tie the end right away to secure it. And then just use a whip stitch to go under 2 strands on each panel. And that's it. So just go across, and then I'm going to switch the yarn color when I get to the blue. So just tie off the purple when you finish with the purple. So just go across until you meet up with your stitch marker. When you are ready to weave in your ends, take your tails, put it through the yarn needle if you've got enough. If you've got enough of the strand. And then just weave it in and out. One strand only, and don't go through to the front. And then come back the other way. And if you still have enough, go back the other way. Enough of a tail. And then you can cut that off. Now let's finish off the neck with a little border of single crochet, right, to attach at the seam. Do a chain to lock it in, and then just start adding single crochets around the perimeter. And this is right side facing you. And just go around as evenly as you can. Now avoid going into the big openings. See how I went into the 2-strand chain? So this way you're not leaving yourself great big holes. So just go all the way around. When you come back where you started, just slip stitch to join and tie it off. And then you also want to add a border at the bottom. You can see the bottom is all not quite finished. Okay, so again, right side facing you. So for that, you're going to have to turn it upside down. And switch colors as needed. That will really make it nice and neat and pretty. Now you'll notice that the sides are already nicely finished. That's why we went into the back row of the foundation chain. See how pretty that looks? So you don't need to do anything to the sides. And then that will be it. You'll be done. So make sure you leave me a comment, please, below. Let me know what you thought of this design. I'm sure you're going to switch out the colors, so please, I would love to hear what colors you are using. Give me a thumbs up. That would also be super helpful. So have fun finishing this, and we will see you on the next project.